God, look at her butt. It's so big.
That's not nice.
If you can't say nothing nice, say nothing at all.
If you can't say nothing nice, say nothing at all.
If you can't say nothing nice, say nothing at all.
If you can't say nothing nice, say nothing at all.
If you can't say nothing nice, say nothing at all.
Baby Dew got back though.
Tame your tongue. But first, a little joke. Guy drives up to an intersection, and while he's driving through, notices a camera takes his picture. And he thinks, I wasn't speeding, and the light was green. I don't know why that happened. I'm going to go around and see if it happens again, and this time drive slower. So he goes around again, and he's driving even slower, and it takes his picture again. And he goes, that's crazy. I'm doing this again. He goes around again, and sure enough, it takes his picture again. And a week later, he gets 3 tickets for not wearing a seatbelt. Receptivity prayer. Ta-da! I am open to the evolution of my soul. My mind is alert. My heart is receptive. My next step is here and now. And so it is. Tame your tongue. Boy, oh boy, if we were only good at that. Now, I want to tell you that today's talk has 3 layers to it. So we're going to keep going to the different layers of this. So stick with me, because my first example is our president. But I am not here to talk about him from his political or policies. This is a talk about taming your tongue. And I can find no better example on the planet of somebody who doesn't know how to do that. And we're talking about our president. Just today, I was reading about how a black woman in Florida who was in charge of counting the Broward County tallies for the election, that our president had put out all these tweets about how corrupt she was, attacking her character, attacking who she was, attacking until finally she said, that's enough. Because people started, because the president was doing that, threatening her life, threatening her family's lives. So when we don't tame our tongues, the impact can be really large in terms of how it affects other people. Then I read something really interesting, that there was a playbook from the Democrats back in the 1800s where every single time a black person was in charge, they would attack as there must be something fraudulent going on. Every single time. And so Mr. Trump wasn't the first one to do this. He just took it from an old playbook from the South. Taming our tongue. Learning how to lift people up instead of knock people down. Now, here's the thing about that. I get up here and I talk about our president, and then what happens is then other people say derogatory stuff about the president. I've heard it. In this house of sanctuary, I have listened to people be derogatory about our president. That's not taming our tongue either. then we're no different. And that's the thing about it, right? Now, he's certainly a much more public figure. But he's just another person on the planet when it comes to knowing better. Obviously, he doesn't. But then neither does anybody else who's talking, trash about him. We're not taming our tongues either. And we can go, oh, well, but it's just because he outrages me so much. Yes, so many things in life can outrage us. And those are the times we need to grab our tongue the most, right? Is when we are outraged or in a panic. My wife and I are really good at not taming our tongues when we're in a panic. And we wind up saying stuff we really wish we hadn't said. And then we have to spend time apologizing and making up, and which is never a bad thing. The whole making up process. But it's up to us to really catch ourselves. The taming of the tongue is what happens when we are about to have something had this come out of our mouths, and then somehow we grab it. And don't do that. And that way, we begin that discipline of finding ways of saying things that are not attacking and yet express how we're feeling. Because I am certainly not up here saying we should not express how we're feeling. I am saying that there's always a way to say it that is not an attack. And that's part of the job that we do here. We are interested in the power of the word, yes? Yes, because the word has power, and how we use that word makes a difference in what we create in our lives. So when we are outraged, and we then say something about our outrage that is an attack, are we creating what it is we want in life? No, there's no way to get there from there. That's a dead-end road. And yet, how often do we walk down it? How often do we walk down that road where it's a dead end and is leading us exactly to the place we don't want to go? So see if the next time the president tweets something or says something that you may have a disagreement or thought about, see if you can find a discipline in yourself to hold it in a way that would actually feed the good in the world instead of just the outrage in the world, which there's plenty of. The world doesn't need any more outrage. What the world needs is actions that will take us to having the kind of character and the people representing us that have the kind of character and talk the kind of talk and walk the kind of walk that we want to see on our planet. But it has to start here. And if we're not walking that walk and we're not talking that talk because we're spending so much time trashing the president or the Republicans or the Democrats or this person or your partner or your next door neighbor whose dog barks way too loud and you wish you could do something about that, or whatever it is, or your boss. Any time you're spending trashing anybody is time spent creating what it is you don't want. So the power of taming your tongue is actually the way you create in the world. The better you can control. Now, the better you can control your tongue, the better you have a chance of finally controlling your mind. But if you can't even control your tongue, how are you going to get to your mind? Because in the end, and here's the next layer, you don't even have to say it out loud to have it have impact in your life. Now, if you say it out loud, and it's to your partner or to your boss or to your next door neighbor, you're going to see an instant karma happen that you probably didn't want. But even if you're saying it in your mind so that it's not so instant, it's still impacting, because that's what we teach here. We teach that our words have power, whether they're coming out of our mouths or whether they're in our heads. And one of the ways in which we can do best in terms of taming our tongue is in the stories we tell ourselves. Because that's the big thing. I have so many people come into my office. They want to talk to me about their story. What they're saying what they want is to heal something, but then grow something, or have something work out in a good way, or have something become, better than it is right now. But what they want to talk about is how bad things are. What they want to tell me is not only how bad things are, but all the evidence as to why it's so bad. And when they're doing that, then they're not feeding their own good. Now, for those of you who have taken the time to come into my office, you might know that I am not the best listener on the planet. That once you begin telling me your story, the first thing I'm going to do is say, let's not do that. Let's not tell our stories. Let's tame our tongue and instead tell the story you want, instead of giving me all the evidence why you don't have it. You want health? Don't go into all the details as to your disease. You want more money? Don't go into all the details as to why you don't have any. You want a better job? Don't go into all the details as to why the job you have now stinks. I know we want to do that. We want somebody to, commiserate with us. We want somebody to feel our pain, right? And I get that. And that's not that that's not important, that people should, empathize, have compassion. I have tremendous compassion for people's pain, which is why I want to support them so strongly in rising from it, instead of being steeped in it. You have a choice all the time, every day. When you are in pain of any sort, whether it be emotional, physical, whatever, when you are in pain, you have a choice to continue to be steeped in it or to want to be healed. I read this great quote on Facebook today that was said by Hippocrates. He said, before you try to heal somebody, ask them if they're willing to give up whatever created the disease. This was, 2,500 years ago? And it's exactly what we teach here. We have these great, incredible practitioners who you can come to for prayer, and I hope that you do that. And in here, what we do is we do these what we call 1-minute miracles. And in a 1-minute miracle, you walk up to a practitioner and you say to them, know this for me, whether it be health, relationships, money, new job, whatever. You just walk up and let them know it for you, because that will energize you towards what it is you want. So it's totally worth doing. But if you really want to dig in, you want to set up a session with one of these people where you sit down with them, where they can really dig in with you what you need to let go of to have what it is you want. Because the one thing we know for certain in our teaching is that the second we fully know that we already have what we want, that's when it shows up. That's what I was talking about last week when I was mentioning Hurricane Carter. And I was saying how he was falsely accused of murder. He's in jail for 20 years, in prison for 20 years, puts out a book where he states in the book, I have never felt freer in my life. Because he had embodied freedom even though his situation had not changed at all. He was still in prison. He embodied it. He was stating it. That's what was coming out of his mouth. That what was filling his head was, I am free. Lo and behold, 2 years later, he gets out. Not shocking, according to what we teach here. So what we embody, what we say, this is why taming our tongue is a great start. We have this saying in our movement, change your thinking, change your life. Anybody here not heard that? But it isn't just that, it's what you say. Now, I know a lot of times we speak before we think. I know I do. But those words came from somewhere. And so when we dig in and we can really feel it, and we can feel it, we take the time to look at whatever the circumstance is and go, what do I really want to think about this? What do I really want to say about this? How do I really want to feel about this? And I'm not talking about masking your feelings. I'm not talking about saying something that's not true. No. I am not the guy who has ever said to you, turn away from the condition. There are people in our movement who say that. They'll say, turn away from the condition. No, I've never said that. I say, look beyond it. There's the condition, and then there's beyond it. And that's where you want to be looking. You want to look at the higher horizon, beyond the condition, and state what you see there. Not back there, turning your back or whatever, there. When I go and sit with people in the hospital, the first question I always ask them is, why do you want to live? And so then they tell me what they have to live for. And then I say, focus on that like it's already done. And then they get better, sometimes really fast. My wife will tell you every time I get, signs of this or that or whatever, I never own it. You will never hear me say I am sick, ever. Because I don't believe in it. I believe that what I have is things that just are passing through, whether it be snot or whatever. And sure enough, by holding it that way, by stating it that way, by thinking it that way, my wife has told me time and time again, she's never seen anybody recover from this stuff as fast as I do. Because it's possible when we stand in that place. And I can tell the difference for myself. When I'm feeling, I don't feel very good today. Wow, do I really want to hold that? And so the idea is to challenge yourself. Challenge what you've just said, whether that's actually what you want. What you're calling a fact, is it really? Or is it just somebody else's label that they told you that you decided to take on as yours? Because people like to label stuff. I know people who own labelers. And they go around, they label the cabinets, and they label where this is and that is. And that's okay. I got no issue with that as long as you know that's what you're doing, is you are creating your labels. So what I'm asking is since you're creating your labels, is it the label you want? So you want to be asking yourself that question. Is this the label I want? Is this what I want to be saying? Be willing to question what comes out of your mouth. I do all the time. Because it's really helpful when we question what comes out of our mouths, when we question what we think is so, when we question what somebody else has stated as a fact, or what a doctor tells us, or what our boss says, or what our partner says. If we're willing to question, is this true for me? I'm constantly asking myself that question. Is this true for me? And what I don't do is start an argument out loud with the person I'm with. You know, I have people say stuff to me all the time I don't agree with, and I simply say, in my mind, that isn't true for me. And then I got no argument going, and I'm at peace. And the more we can be at peace, the more we then can create the world we want to see. So I ask you today to stop being outraged by what's going on around us and instead embody what it is you want to see arise. Because that's what's possible. What's possible is for us to create, because that's what we teach here, that we can create out of what we embody, and what we embody comes out of what we start thinking and then what we say. That's the beauty of expressing love. It's what we want. So let's express it. Let's express that beauty within ourselves. Let's bring out that inner nature. Let's not, and once again, I'm not talking about, covering up the outrage or anything like that. You get to be outraged, but then you get to behave any way you want from that feeling. And so I like to feel from a place of power that I actually am not hopeless here, not helpless here, that something can rise up out of all this that's beautiful, that's wonderful, that's here for all of us to learn, breathe, grow. There's a gift here. There's a gift in what's going on in the world today. There has to be, because there's a gift in every moment for each of us. But it's up to us to find it. It's not always visible. So I am not saying, don't be angry, don't be outraged, don't be sad, don't be hurt. No, emotions happen. Feel them. But then tame your tongue, tame your mind, and allow yourself to re-perceive what it is that's going on to a place where you are feeding the love instead of feeding the hate. You have that choice. In every single moment. You're feeding one or the other. You're feeding fear, you're feeding love. You're feeding fear and hate, you're feeding love. Every moment. Let's rise together. Let's feel something deeper within ourselves. Let's remember what it is we see and feel and teach here on Sundays and take it out into our week so that we can respond differently to what is occurring in our lives. Because when we do, our lives grow. Our lives become magnificent. Our lives become something we never, ever anticipated. Our lives become in what we have always imagined it to be. And then we get to live that life. And wouldn't that be great? To live that life of just feeling like our identity prayer says. That's what's possible for each and every one of us if we are willing to tame our tongue. Thank you. I love you. All right. This is our question and answer moment. Who has questions? Who'd like to tell me whatever they want to say about this? Anybody? Come on. This is where you get to talk back. Anybody? Come on. Yes, Howard.
Only that we have to build a compassionate society before we can hope to build a rational society. And
Say that again.
What?
Repeat what you said.
We have to build a compassionate society before we can hope to build a rational society, and that is what I said at Baltimore Conference, the National Conference of Adult Day Centers.
Excellent. So compassion starts, and it starts not as a society. It starts as an individual. It starts in each of us. We have to be compassionate, each of us, towards whatever's going on. Anybody else? Come on. All right. Every week, you got the option. Okay. So what are we up to now? Oh, take out what you're going to give. Hold it in your hand. Do not crinkle it up. Do not make it small. Open it. Hold it. This is power. This is how we create power. By holding it in our hands. We do not crinkle it up. We hold it out. We hold it up. And we know whether it's $1, $10, $1 million, deeds of land, diamonds, whatever you're given. Hold it right here. And let's say our affirmation together. God is the source of all supply. Money is God in action. What we give, we receive multiplied abundantly. All that God is, I am, and so it is.
Baby Dew got back though.